Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Into the Vault, the show where we reach back into the Disney vault, pull out a movie, and find out if it was a hidden treasure or if it was locked away for our own good. I'm your host, Garrison MacCraw, and with me from all the way in New York City, it is Chris Senn! And I play like SNL knockoff music. There we go.
Yeah, I gotcha. Chris Senn. Yeah, it really rolls off the tongue. Yes, please send help. There's a hurricane coming. I'm batting down the hatches, featuring me and probably my cats in the background. If you hear anything, I apologize.
Two of my friends are in New York right now, and I was supposed to pick them up from the airport tonight, but they're like, I don't know if we're coming back tonight.
Yeah, it's a little
So this
dicey.
is my way of asking you: can you house my friends Tim and Sam, since they are stuck?
Hey, listen, our guest bedroom, like I said, like most things else in the house, has been taken over by our cats, but they're more than welcome. If they don't mind felines, they're pretty well behaved for the most part. It's a little dicey here. I'm not gonna lie, but it's good. It's good to be back in the city. I'm back in the New York.
Woo!
I don't know if they only play that commercial here, but there's like a commercial going around where it's like, New York City's back, baby. And I'm like, unfortunately,
We don't play that commercial down here for some reason.
yeah. It's like I always grew up wondering if Sweet Home Alabama was actually the hit that like we thought it was, or if they only played it in like Alabama radio stations.
Once again, we're playing Sweet Home Alabama for the 37th time in a row.
Top of the charts for 18 years running, Sweet Home Alabama.
It's the only song that doesn't contain sin, so we have to play it. This and this alone. Speaking of southern western cowboy hat vibe
So we
thing.
got there.
Woohoo! Yeah, we're talking about the Apple Dumpling Gang today.
Yes, surprisingly, spoiler alert, very little Apple Dumplings in the movie. I was a little disappointed with that.
Yeah, me too.
Um,
Me too.
but I didn't know what an Apple Dumpling was. I Googled it, to be honest. Yeah.
And all that came up was this movie.
Yes, and its sequel, also spoiler alert. But yeah, I had a good time. I had a good time watching it. We'll get into it.
Yeah. This movie came out in 1975. It was an old like Disney comedy, and normally we talk about the movie and then watch it and then give our review, but I was not gonna
We're gonna,
with the time zone change of New York and Florida,
yeah,
pausing it and lining it back up.
getting syncopated watches.
Yes. Like Rachel Ray, we have already watched it. We had one in the oven. We are
Oh,
pulling
no.
it out now. We've already watched the movie. Before you watched it, like you didn't know what an apple dumpling was. Did you have any idea what the movie was about? Have you heard of it before?
Okay, so and I guess when I saw the poster, I sort of had this weird like Vietnam flashback to a time when I was a child. And I don't know if any of you out there remember because I don't even think they make any of these games anymore. But I had Disney Seen It, and
Yes.
yeah,
Yes,
and
yes,
they had
yes.
all these little movie clips and like be Fantasia and Snow White and like all the hits like, and then every now and then they would play some like really obscure thing from like The Rescuers 2, or whatever. And there was a scene in this movie, and I as soon as when I watched the movie, I was like, yep, that was it. But it was a scene in this movie that was like, I think that it was like, name what movie this is from, and I missed that question and probably lost the game because of it for dramatic effect. And so, had I only seen this before when I was, 13 years old, I could have won that game of Disney Seen It because I had no idea what it was from, and now I do.
This podcast is secretly just a way to get me to be the master at Disney Seen It, so I will never lose ever.
Oh yeah, no. Now I think I'm ripe for the picking. Anytime a Newsies question comes up, I'm like, oh boy, you're in trouble
It's like,
now.
I got this.
Woo!
I got this. Kenny Ortega, that's the answer. Christian Bale.
Pulitzer's 9 different accents. Yeah, a very different movie from our last episode, which, like I said, thank you for having me back. I don't know why. I'm assuming the listeners demanded it. It was the
I
most.
get emails every day.
They're like, when are you going to have that?
Mostly from you, but
Thank you for finally answering. I appreciate it. And unblocking me. Yeah, no, it's a very different movie from Newsies. Newsies, I feel like a lot happened. Because, like I said, I went back and listened to it, much to my own chagrin. But yeah, I know something we talked about was that not a whole lot of nothing happens. Where in this movie, I think just nothing happens.
I think I think it's an hour and a half or whatever, 2 hours of just leading up to one thing
I
happening.
really kept waiting for that. I guess maybe kudos to him for like disassembling the three act structure, but like I kind of kept waiting for the act break, and
I
I'm
love
like,
the one act structure of
yeah, a
this
good.
film.
It's a good one act structure that leaves you very avant garde. It's like a Net, that new Adam Driver movie, which boy, that's another subject. But yeah, a good one act, but not a play, not a play. Certainly not that.
This movie, on the poster, it features like most prominently, like if you look up Apple Dumpling Gang, it's most like you're gonna find Tim Conway and Don Knotts, two like very legendary comedic actors.
Yeah,
Tim Conway from the Carol Burnett Show, probably most famously, and he's done a bunch of other
right,
stuff.
right, right.
Don Knotts probably most famous for the Andy Griffith Show.
Which, and
Uh,
if you've never seen it, he did like I always thought it was a string of movies, but I tried looking it up, and I could only find one. But it was called like The Ghost and Mr. Chicken. Genuinely one of my favorite Jims, like from as a child watching that. He plays like Don Knotts basically, like and he has to like stay in this haunted house to like win money or something like that. And I always swore they did more like that. I mean, I guess any Don Knotts movie was kind of he was a physical comedian really. So yeah, I don't know if maybe the posters, if they did some R&D afterwards and said, hey, this is like what works, because to me Tim Conway and Don Knotts were far and above far and above the best part of the movie. um
yeah, I think that's very evident. They're not big players in the movie. They're kind of side characters, but the sequel is just about them
yeah,
and no one else.
yeah, I looked in that after finishing it. It queued up like the sequel, and so I kind of looked in. I didn't watch it. But we'll do that for the sequel. Come back next week. But yeah, no, I definitely think it was evident too, even in the maybe editing. I could see that they got into the editing room. This is a theory now. And because like you said, they are bit characters, but I would argue hold up a good portion of the screen time of the film. Like, is a lot of their scenes. They have probably the longest scene, because that was another kind of joke I was going to make. I feel like every scene is like a minute and a half long. And then it's just something else. And I'm like, what even happened in that scene? I don't know. But they have a relatively long scene. But yeah, they were fantastic in this movie. It was the first pairing of the two of them, apparently, too. Like, this is the first movie they did together. And then they did a few others after this. But yeah, Don Knotts and Tim Conway were fantastic. They had so many gags where I'm like, it's so interesting. I think comedy, it's a big thing to talk about right now on how it ages, and I think a lot of the time it ages poorly very quickly. Like, it's like milk. Something that's funny, now it's going to be very cringy in like 2 years from now. But physical comedy is always funny. Like, it's the most base form of comedy. But if you watch a Charlie Chaplin or oh god, I'm spacing on the guy's
I
name.
mean, the
Um,
most popular like cartoon in the world is Tom and Jerry.
yeah,
Like, and that's all it is.
Looney Tunes.
But like, yeah, Looney Tunes. I mean, I wouldn't say Tom and Jerry like the most popular, but like if you look at like popularity of cartoons over time, Tom and Jerry has always stayed near the top, whereas like Mickey Mouse will like wane and come back, or Looney Tunes will wane and come back, but Tom and Jerry has consistently stayed near the top,
When it's also
like
stayed like it's
data
had the
wise.
same voice, like they've done Looney Tunes reboots and stuff, and they've been good, to be honest. I kind of liked them, but they've changed their voice. I'm doing quotations for a podcast. But yeah, they've changed their voice a little bit. Whereas Tom and Jerry, apart from this kind of wild movie they just did, um, it's been like, hey, he's gonna hit him on the head with a mallet, like, you get it, you know what I mean? And it's
Yeah.
it's funny. Um, Buster Keaton was the guy I couldn't think of earlier. By the way, I don't want to lose my cinephile card, so I feel like I should throw that in there. Anywho,
I think we should just dive right into the plot of this thing. Any other like thoughts you had before the movie going in?
before the movie going in, I was actually, I guess, maybe surprised to learn this, but so I was like, oh, this is like definitely going to be like one of those movies that like Blazing Saddles parodies. I don't know if you ever saw Blazing Saddles.
Yes, I did.
Kind of a big parody of the Western. And I'm like, oh, this is like, a parody of the Western. And I guess I just didn't check the year that it came out. until like much later. And then afterwards, I was like, wait, this came out a year after Blazing Saddles. They said, hey,
And they
wait,
went back into the
yes, they
tropes.
went, hey,
Just right back in.
we know that movie just really deconstructed the Western genre, and all that,
Let's construct it. Let's reconstruct.
do it, but let's take what they really had a problem with was that second and third act. Let's just get rid of that, and just make a beginning of a movie an hour and a half long.
All right, so let's dive right in. It is, like you said, it's a Wild West film, like late 1800s, and it's about this guy who is not Tim Conway or Don Knotts, just a regular man who's strolling through an old Western town, playing some poker. He's on his way to start a casino over in New Orleans. He's just passing through, and apparently he's very familiar with the people in this town. I don't remember why.
Well, I think he knows a guy. Like
he knew a guy.
He knew
Okay.
a guy because he asked them. I don't think he's like inherently familiar with the town because he asked them why is it called like Quake or something like that or
yes, Quake City.
Quake City. Yeah. Don't make him angry. I know that much.
Yeah. Bill Bixby, who played not Bruce Banner.
Yeah, they changed his name.
Show. They changed his name to David Banner in the Incredible Hulk show. Do you know why?
No.
Bruce Banner sounded too much like a homosexual name.
Oh, hey.
Is what they said.
All right.
At the time.
Okay.
This is not my words.
Hey, listen, Disney, that doesn't surprise me. I'll put it that way. Yeah, I didn't know a first name could sound, but hey, here we are. And now we've progressed. Look at that. We've got Mark. We've had 3 of them in the past like 10 years. So if you want to look at it in a progressive way, wait.
Not one David Banner.
No David Banners though. Yeah. Oh jeez. Yeah.
We're back to Bruce.
Can you imagine if
Bruce
it had
had his comeback?
Can you imagine had this role been played by Lou Ferrigno though, the other version of the Incredible, like as opposed
just this
to Bill
muscly
Bixby?
bodybuilder. A part of my brain was like, maybe I should do an impression, but
Of
no.
I
will not.
Yeah, maybe not Lou Ferrigno.
I will not do that.
Do one of Bill Bixby. I'm sure he's fine with it. No, I'm sure he's but he can beat you up.
All right, I'll do one. Hello, I'm Bill Bixby, a regular man.
That was really good. Oh my god!
Thank you.
It's like he was in the room.
But yeah, he's talking to this one guy he knows, and apparently this guy has conned him once before, sold him a horse that was not his, and this guy pulls another one on him, where he's like, "Hey, this time I'm serious. I just need someone to pick up a package for me while I'm out of town, and I'll be back and I'll pick up the package. Don't even worry about it." And the guy's like, "Whatever."
Yeah, don't ask any questions about what the package is going to be. Like, no second questioning is needed.
I mean, sometimes when I'm like on a business trip and I'm going across the country and I run into someone I met one time, and he's like, "Hey, can you go to the mailbox for me?" I say yes every time.
Sure. You're like, hey, this doesn't seem odd at all. Like the fact that you can't do it yourself. I also love how, I will say, it's something I really admire from like films of this, I think, like 1970s and prior. The setup really didn't matter. And I kind of appreciated that, I guess. You know what I mean? Like, just for example, just because it's been on my mind lately, like the setup of Singing in the Rain makes zero sense. Like they ask you to follow a lot of rabbit trails. They're like, hey, sure, this happens, but it doesn't matter because it's going to serve the overall story. Granted, there's not much of an overall story for this one, but they were like, you get it. He ran into a guy. People do that. You know what I mean? Sure. There was only like 800 people back then in the country.
Anyone you meet is probably someone you've met already. There weren't too many new ones around.
Yeah, there's no strangers.
But then he does meet some strangers in that the package that he picks up is 3 children.
Yes.
Just being shipped through the mail, through the postal service.
Little, stamp on them that just says to, so-and-so from their dead parents.
They have a stamp on their forehead. Just
the Kim Express.
My Prime. Can I get?
How did we do
through Prime? Just
takes a picture of the kids on the doorstep. They're like, "Hey, how did we?"
Hold still, and he gets under the cloth of the old camera. Hold still, and takes the picture. Gets out. It's like I have to develop this film, and I'll leave it. It's a 3-week-long process just for that.
Like, oh god, man! Like you get an app. It's just like the carriage is still in Wichita. Don't even know what to do.
delivering all those instruments to River City, Iowa, and they're never gonna make it on
Can you
time.
imagine, like, what if, like, Amazon trucks, like let's just say they were still like bandits, and you're like, God, gosh darn it, like my
You
reusable
have an alert pop up. It's just like, sorry, bandits got your merchandise. You're like, oh man,
my re
again.
it's the third time this week. Like, ah, man, I really got to start using FedEx. Um, they have trucks. I don't know why Amazon's still doing things on wagons,
That
but
horse and
yeah,
carriage.
it's really outdated. It was like a cute concept. I get it, but it's like,
Like, come on.
uh, anyway,
So this man now,
owns
uh,
kids.
he owns kids, and he goes to the town's like equal parts sheriff, judge, uh,
Barber.
barber, everything. Uh, and I also want to point out half the residents in this town are just various Sam Elliots. Like,
Yes.
not literally, but they are just
Yeah,
old men with mustaches.
Sam Elliott is not in this movie once, but like you would certainly think he's in it 7 times. Um,
There are two men who look exactly the same.
yeah, and they're just like, well, I guess you own these kids now, like, you know what I mean? And
Yeah. And he's like, "Well, I don't own these kids. I just picked up a package." And the guy's straight up like, "Well, you did say you would pick them up, and so if you like kind of disown them now, we will hang you."
oh yeah,
That's essentially what he said.
because there's 3 very important laws to this town. Only 3. He said, "Listen, mister, we got 3 rules." And I wrote them down because, man, if they're not, if you said, "Hey, what are the only 3 rules you can have in your town to make sure that things run as smoothly as possible?" Apparently, they think it's don't steal land. Sorry, don't steal your neighbor's land. Don't take your neighbor's man. Whoops, sorry. Well, no, not a David Bixby or a Bill Bixby situation, but uh,
Yeah, a Bruce Banner.
don't take a man's woman or his whiskey, and don't go back on a deal. That's it. Anything else, c'est la vie. Like, that's fine.
Tax fraud,
Murder, like,
murder.
that's fine. But like, as long as you don't steal land,
You
woman,
can't
whiskey.
murder a woman because that'd be taking someone else's.
True.
Wife,
There
I
is
would
that
assume.
caveat
So
in there.
you have to murder men.
Yes, and if you break a bottle of whiskey in the process, well, then you can't. So don't get in a fight in a bar, I guess. But yeah, and don't go back on the deal.
He also phrased it like instead of a hanging, he said invited to a hemp party, which is a phrase I had never heard. In my
I was
life.
like, "Are you gonna get high?" Like, what's going?
Yeah.
I was like, "Is this it's a cool town?" Hip town. And
this is actually Quake City, Colorado.
And then and then he did that like the old like he grabbed at his neck, and I was like, oh my god, they're gonna hang him like over.
They're gonna hang him.
I was like, so wait a minute, let me get this straight. If I like borrow my neighbor's whiskey and just don't give it back in a proper amount of time, like you're dead. Like,
yeah, they will kill you if the wrong package shows up at your door and you sign for it and you're like, oh, this isn't mine. Like, sorry.
And you open it, it's your neighbor's whiskey, and you go, oh my god,
like, no,
I've got to get out of town.
Gotta go. Yeah, and that basically sets up the framing here. Like this guy now has 3 kids, and he's not a family man. He doesn't even know what kids are about.
He's an eligible bachelor.
So in this town, there's 2 other characters. We have our Tim Conway and Don Knotts. These 2 criminals who are very bumbling, not really efficient thieves by any means.
No, they were kicked out of a bigger gang for shooting the gang's leader in the leg. One of them. And speaking of Blazing Saddles, Slim Pickens, baby.
Slim Pickens.
Best name in the business.
Second movie I've reviewed with Slim Pickens in it. Because he's in the black hole, I'm pretty sure.
He was supposedly a really cool guy. Not to get like off on a tangent, but like I read some story somewhere that like some guy met him at like a gas station out west, and he was like, "Oh, I'm just camping out, on the trail." Like that was who he actually was. Like he never knew he was
a hemp party.
He never knew he was in a western. They just like filmed him doing stuff and just put him in there. But they were like, his name is so great, Slim Pickens.
Yeah. So the bandits, and what are they trying to do? I don't know, something. I don't remember. They're trying to steal stuff.
Yeah. Well, they see Bill Bixby coming to town, and they're like, "Oh, like he's got money, probably." And they keep trying. I'm telling you, the first and second act of the movie is really just them sort of trying to rob Bill Bixby, and it going awry.
It's a segment of them doing a robbery that goes wrong, and then it's Bill Bixby trying to sell off these kids to someone, and then it's another robbery that goes wrong, then another attempt to sell the kids.
Yeah, this I kept trying to go. What is the plot of this movie? Because a uh,
Apple Dumpling Gang still has not come into play at all.
yeah, they are in the movie very little. Like they have. I kept being like, where, like, when are they gonna, like, kick into action? Because again, even reading the synopsis on Disney Plus, like, I'm like, oh, okay, and like that, it's an hour and a half long movie. So if you know story structure, around that 35 minute mark is where your inciting incident should be. And I think at that time it was still just Bill at a poker table. And yeah, the Apple Dumpling Gang is in it surprisingly very little, um, especially in the beginning. And oh god, no, I forgot what I was even supposed to be saying. Um, this movie
The
just drowns it out of you.
Yeah, the big thing that happens between all these attempts is the kids apparently also from their deceased parents have inherited a mine not too far away from the town, and they go to explore this mine and they find a huge thing of gold.
Immediately,
And
which I will say, I was at first, I thought, because they go in there with shovels and they're really like just moving dirt around, basically not even digging, and I was like, oh god, if they find it this way, like, I'm gonna laugh hysterically. But then they almost die, because Quake City, guess what, earthquake happens. Um, and if you, I don't know if you really watched it, that it's like splits open, like there's a cavern that is created. I'm like, you guys really should not live here. So yeah, they find the biggest chunk of gold ever, and now they're millionaires.
yep, and now everyone wants to adopt these kids because they're they're a figurative and literal gold mine.
Hey, but
Hey, nice. These kids are now the proud owners of this thing of gold. Everyone wants them, and now Bill Bixby is like, well, now I don't want to get rid of them because these people don't want them for the right
oh
reasons. They
yeah,
want them just for money. So I'll keep them. A man who has no interest in the money.
yes, yeah, through no character development whatsoever. This guy's, which I thought might have been like, I thought that could have been a plot point. I was like, oh, okay, he's gonna try to do it, and maybe he is doing it for the right reasons, but like people are gonna be suspicious of him that he isn't doing it for the right reasons because his only interest that he's shown up until this point of the movie is money. They've had all of like 30 seconds together, on screen, and it's been the middle child like kicking him in the shin, and the little girl saying that she has to go to the bathroom. Which, fun drinking game for this movie for you kids out there. Anytime she says I have to go, just take a drink, and in the first 30 minutes you're going to be, because that equates most of their screen time. It's just the little girl saying I have to go, and the middle child going I don't like to be touched.
And then kicking people
And
subsequently.
yes,
And if you turn into a drinking game, you'll also have to go because she says it that many times.
yes, true.
So,
Fun fact. Then go anytime she says she has to go, and
yeah,
sync up.
pause the movie. Yeah, really align it so you're. It's like a 4D movie. Really, you're living it.
Yeah, yeah. So Bill Bixby, I just feel like it was so random. Like, like I said, he really is trying to give these kids off to like terrible people too. Like, it's not even like he was trying to find them a good home. He was just trying to get rid of them. Like, I'm pretty sure at one point in time tries to give them to like the owners of what I think was suggested to be a brothel, of some sort. Um, and but yeah, so all of a sudden he's like, no, I'm virtuous, and I don't want these kids to go to a bad home, and it has nothing to do with the money. And apparently it didn't, because he's just a good guy now.
Meanwhile, the our two criminals try to steal this gold. Uh, More physical comedy between Don Knotts, Tim Conway, and they eventually find themselves trapped in the bank with the gold, but they can't get it out. And they're like, the police come in and are like, "Hey, we caught you."
We got you, man. Literally red-handed. Well, not literally red-handed, but as bad as red-handed you get. Which I also think that latter scene was, I think, the longest scene in the movie. Like, in for what I'm talking about, for those of you who have not seen it, although I'm sure most of you have this on Blu-ray box set, is there's a scene where like Don Knotts and Tim Conway, or whatever their characters' names um, are they break into the firehouse to steal a ladder to get into the bank, and it's, I mean, and it's great. It's super funny, but it's probably the longest uncut scene in the
Like
film.
singular like thought.
They're in that firehouse trying to steal that ladder for like a good 5 minutes, maybe.
Yeah.
That might be a little long, but like considering every other scene is like 3 lines of dialogue, and then we're cutting to something else, and then that scene had no dialogue, really, which was again kudos to Tim Knotts and, oh god, Tim Conway and Don Knotts. Um, but kudos to the two of them for making it work. But yeah, like I said, it when you have a movie that's nothing but like very quick like scenes, and then you spend a remote amount of time on any one thing, I think it really stands out. But yeah, they get caught. Um, the
And then it's a joke that I thought would be like a dumb thing I'd make fun of, but then it turned out to be a joke. I'm like, wait, no, that is funny. Where the sheriff guy's like you come back here tomorrow morning with some rope for your own hanging, and then they leave, and I'm like, they're never gonna come back, and he's like, well, hopefully they don't come back, and if they do, then they should be hanged because that they are that dumb.
I do love.
And I thought that was good.
Oh, one of my audible laughs in this film came from Tim Conway trying to go back to get the rope that they had like been tied up with in the bank, and he's like, "That's our only rope." Like and he's like earnestly still trying to get the rope for their own hanging. Um,
So moving on, there's and I want to like finish through the plot. Basically, uh, Bill Bixby tries to marry the woman who's in charge of like the delivery company because she's nice, and he's like, "You'll take care of the kids. We can get married and then divorce, and you can just have them, and I'll leave, and you'll be fine, and I'll pay you back someday with money."
Yeah, which is like, which by the way was the sheriff's plan. He was like, "Hey, you, a stranger who, to be honest, has really not shown any sign of caring for these kids for the whole movie, um, but you should just marry that one woman because we can't just give you the kids. It has to be like, we can't have a Bill Bixby
We have to
situation
have,
going on here.
yeah.
So we have to have a woman involved, and so you should just do it. Who cares what she thinks? Like, like, I'm like, oh, cool. So they're just kind of forcing this lady into marriage, basically, and kind of like he's like,
Luckily, she was into it, kind of.
yeah, that's it. What is it with us watching movies with weirdly kind of shoehorned romances in them? Like, because
That's any film before 2012.
yeah, that's also true. Yeah, yeah.
And now most
And,
any
and
film.
still now, yeah, and still, um, yeah, because it was like you could tell they were trying to put like romantic tension between the two of them without doing any sort of the actual like legwork of giving them. No one has character development scenes in this movie.
No.
So, but yeah, like, so he comes to her and he's like,
Um.
oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna be like, oh, and then we have the good old brass bed scene that was, thank goodness they paid that off of all the things they set up in this movie.
Yeah. There was just a bit where he's like, "Hey, I'm not gonna touch you when we're married," and then he buys a bed for the kids, and she's like, What'd you buy a bed for? If we're not gonna do any sort of marriage things, you liar!" And then they fight.
Yeah, they have a big brawl in the pub, not pub, bar, and this isn't in Ireland. They have a big brawl in the bar.
Hello and welcome to the old Western Saloon. We have.
And yeah, I'm assuming that's where the budget went, was that big like fight scene, I guess, because it was also the next longest scene apart from the
I want to say Dusty. This movie came out in 1975, before Star Wars, before Alien. So Dusty is like probably the first big female action hero of cinema history.
Yeah.
She's brawling, she's pulling out guns, she's shooting at bandits.
Oh yeah, and then I love. Oh my god, that was my favorite
Doing
part.
quips.
Like we haven't gotten there yet plot wise, but when like Bill Bixby pulls out his like little like just like cap gun thing, and I was like, oh, I'm sure you're doing a great job, Bill.
The kids are upset about all this stuff with all the gold and all the situations, so they go to the to the bandits and just go, "Hey, just steal the gold so no one will want it anymore." No, I'm sorry. The because of the gold, the person who's originally supposed to pick them up comes back into town, claims them, and the sheriff says there's nothing I can do legally. He's theirs. Then the kids go to the band, say steal the gold. He won't want us anymore, and we can go back to Bill Bixby. And the bandits start, but their old bandit employers, the old gang, also wants this gold, so they come in to steal it as well.
Mind you, they come in with about 28 minutes left of this hour and a half long movie. We are first introduced to what you could probably consider the antagonist. Slim Pickens plays their old bandit leader. And you do not. I remember seeing his name in the opening credits. I'm like, where? I was like, did I miss him? Is he someone that I'm not recognizing him? Nope. It's just that he doesn't show up until there's about 28 minutes left of the movie. He's like Andy Garcia at the end of Passengers, where you're like, is that Andy Garcia? Like, why is he in this for like? He doesn't even have a line. I mean, Slim Pickens gets lines, but like, anyway, that was wild. Do you remember that? Andy Garcia, Passengers. Anyone? Chime off in the comments.
Everyone's favorite movie.
Passengers. Anyway.
Which is actually a direct sequel to Apple Dumpling Gang.
Yes,
it's the same cinematic universe.
Takes place. They get immediately on a spaceship and head out.
They go.
Chris Pratt plays the Bill Bixby character, if you will, and Jennifer Lawrence is Dusty.
Yeah, it's true. Also, I probably should have mentioned the name Apple Dumpling Gang comes from the kids like apple dumplings, and when they team up the bandits, they're like, well, we can't use our old bandit names for this. Well, let's come up with the new name. And the kid's like, well, Apple Dumplings. And they're like, cool, we're the Apple Dumpling Gang.
Did the kids mention Apple Dumplings to the bandits? I genuinely thought they guessed it. I thought they can't, because like
I don't know.
Because
I don't remember.
Oh, God. I want to go back and watch now because I remember, and I know this is based off a book, and I think the Apple Dumpling thing may play a bigger part in the book, but there's like one scene when they're with Bill
they
Bixby.
actually find an apple dumpling in the mine.
Yeah.
And that's what they have to steal.
It's an $8 million apple dumpling. But they, there's that one scene early on where they're like, "Oh, can we have apple dumplings? We love apple dumplings," and then they never mention it again. And I thought, I was like, okay, there you go. They had to somehow shoehorn it in here and just be like, "Get it, apple dumplings. All right, we don't know what to do with it. You figure it out." And then I genuinely thought that the Tim Conway and Don Knotts, without any sort of knowledge that these kids liked apple dumplings, just was like, well,
that's entirely possible.
We'll call ourselves the Apple Dumpling Gang. Please don't.
That's a good Tim Conway.
Thank you. I really was trying to do Lou Ferrigno.
Okay.
Dang. I've always been told
you won't like me when I'm angry.
I've always been told I had such a Tim Conway Lou Ferrigno, and I've been very ashamed of it.
The other criminals come in to steal this thing of gold, and then a shootout ensues between just every town local.
Yeah,
like just anyone with a gun.
Well, because
everyone has a gun.
Because murder's legal. Like, you know what I mean? As long as you're not stealing land.
Just the purge.
Like, yeah. They just immediately are ready for action. Like, no kind of panic ensues. Like, kids are out there like, all right, let's go.
The end of this movie is just anyone who lives in Texas's dream of just like the bank's being robbed. All right, we're all ready.
The moment we've been waiting for, like finally some action. Like they pay. That's the thing. They actually called Slim Pickens' character and was like, "Hey, there's gold here. If you could come rob the bank, I'm sure you could like totally get away with it." And they were just sitting there like, "Oh,
they're just like waiting.
Can't wait
like,
for this guy to show up." Like, yeah, sure, kids are almost gonna die, but whatever. They fire into that building with reckless abandonment.
Yeah, the kids and like all the Apple Dumpling Gangs in this bank with the criminals, and just everyone's just blasting away. This is probably the most I've ever seen. Like those little practical, not squibs. What do you call them when they're on like a set? Are they still squibs? They're not squibs.
Sure, no one else knows. Or, no,
yeah, sure.
Squibs.
Yeah, those little like packets that burst like gunshots in a wall. Right. Like just every 2 seconds, there's like 7 of those going off.
Oh yeah, no, oh my god, it's so great too. I love at the Slim Pickens gang decides after an intense shootout, they just go, hey, why don't we just go out the back? And so they do. They try to leave out the back, but Tim Conway and Don Knotts are stuck in there. No guns, mind you. But like one of the locals comes and like opens the door and sees them just standing there, and they're like, there's still more in in there? And then everyone just starts
They just keep
shooting again,
shooting.
as opposed to be like, hey, let's take them hostage, or let's arrest these criminals who are unarmed. They're like, nope, let's
Let's get him.
get them.
And yes, to your point earlier, during the shootout, Bill Bixby does try to help, because everyone else has these like big shotguns, rifles, like revolvers, and he just pulls like just a little like
Like the cricket from Men in Black, but without the
yeah.
like surprising like effect. Like
But he has like I guess a million bullets in there because he's just firing with the rest of them. Just
oh yeah, well, people talk too about like they like to criticize Hollywood today on unrealistic like they're like, oh, he hasn't reloaded and he's fired however many bullets. I'm like, these people are literally with 6-shooters and the camera will be on them for like 8 shots, and I'm like, oh, all right, just keep going.
So there, it kind of ends with a chase. Bill Bixby chasing the rest of the criminals who have stolen a fire engine, and it goes into a lake, and he gets the kids back. It's not a problem. He just gets them back, and everyone else is arrested.
Yeah, there's just so little conflict. Anyway, keep going.
There was a stick of dynamite in the bank that explodes, and it's like, oh no, the Don Knotts and Tim Conway, are they dead? No, they just went to the vault of the bank.
They had the classic like black smut, like and the blowing back hair,
Which I take as a life lesson. It's always a good idea to go into the vault.
Hey,
Hey!
We got there. That was the whole reason you did this
That's
episode.
the whole
wasn't
show.
It? Yeah,
That's
thank
the
you,
whole show.
everybody. Thank
Ladies
you
and gentlemen, this is the last episode.
Oh my god, yeah, that's what they were doing. They were looking for Disney treasures and found that they were like, oh,
They found the Apple Dumpling Gang rides again, and they're like, ah, man.
we do this in the future. And then Passengers. No,
The trilogy, the perfect trilogy.
The perfect trilogy. Screw Star Wars, the Apple Dumpling Gang 2, and Passengers. Great trilogy.
And that's the whole movie, basically. And the kids live with Bill Bixby and Dusty, and they're married or whatever.
Yeah, they decide to stay together, of course, or whatever. And
yep.
put that brass bed to use. You know what I mean? Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
And there was a big hemp party that night.
Woo!
Woo!
Yeah. Oh man.
Hey, do you want to hear some trivia, some fun facts?
Boy, do I.
So there's actually one reference that I've found directly tying the Apple Dumpling Gang into the Disney parks.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Do you want to wager a guess where it is?
If I had to guess, I would say Frontierland, and if I had to really guess, I would say maybe Big Thunder Mountain.
You are absolutely correct.
Boom!
Inside the queue, Big Thunder Mountain, there is a wanted poster for Tim Conway and Don Knotts.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
that's wild. I feel like the Big Thunder Mountain queue is one of my favorite. Honestly, it's a place I never mind waiting in line because I feel like there's always something that I haven't seen before there.
Yeah, I'm gonna text it to you and audience at home. I don't know. I'll put it on the Into the Vault.
You get it
somewhere.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool, man. I've never noticed this. That's wild. Yeah, I promise I'm seeing it, guys. He did text it to me. He didn't send me anything. He sent me a text saying, just pretend like I sent you something, please. God, I can't find the picture. I'm really just trying to come up with facts here. I hate to out you, Garrison. No, I'm kidding.
It's just a picture. It's just a poster of Passengers that I stuck up on Big Thunder.
I hate to burst your bubble. This is Chris Pratt and Jennifer Lawrence.
Oh man,
looks a lot like they often are confused for Don Knotts and Tim Conway, but yeah, that's wild. Oh, speaking of Big Thunder though, have you ever noticed the canary thing?
Yes,
which is super dark if you think about it.
For the audience at home, in the tiki room, I assume this is what you're talking about.
Oh no, but go ahead because I don't know. Yeah,
this is okay. So there is the canary. Like, I don't know if they're active right now, but they a few years ago implemented into the queue of Big Thunder a bunch of like interactive things, like you can turn a wheel and then blow some dynamite, and then a puff of smoke will appear on the ride, and you can turn some things, and it like does like a moving image. But one of them is like a canary, and like you close the door, and there's like a little animation of a canary there, right?
Yeah. That's what I was talking about, but I didn't know it had to tie into Tiki Room.
Yeah, so they in the Tiki Room. Oh man, I'm trying to remember what it is. one of the birds say something like, "Whatever happened to Rosita?" or something like that. And the canary is named Rosita.
Oh
It might not
yes,
be Rosita or something.
whatever it is. Someone will correct us, I'm sure.
Yeah. But they are assumed uh in old mine shafts they would send a canary down, and if it's dead when it comes back up, that means it's not safe. Or like if it doesn't come back, whatever.
For gas, yeah.
For gas. Yeah. So basically, there's a bird referenced in the Tiki Room that you can see directly referenced in Big Thunder, insinuating she is being used to check for gas and therefore will probably die.
That ties Adventureland and Frontierland together. If you want to really get like park lore with it, that's pretty cool.
I mean, if you want to get really hardcore, the Society of Explorers and Adventurers also has a reference in Big Thunder.
Yes, it
Because
does.
Barnabas T. Bullion is a member of the Society of Explorers and Adventurers. I was thinking about doing like a whole episode just on that for this podcast, not tying it into a movie, just like kind of doing a rundown for fun.
Dude, do it.
Maybe
And
I
please have me back for it. I'm sure there's more qualified people to have for that episode, but screw it, I'm asking first. I want to be on for that episode.
Absolutely.
That was something I was really, and again, it's not what we're talking about. I don't want to get into it, but I was really kind of hoping that Jungle Cruise might set that up.
I was hoping so bad because in the update of the ride, they have more SEA references. If you don't know the SEA, look it up, or wait till my inevitable podcast.
Yeah, don't look it up. Make them wait for a podcast. Really get that.
Yeah,
get that sweet.
Don't stop it. Put that phone down. I see you. Stop it.
No.
But that's basically the only direct reference. The song, they have a theme song, and like I was trying to see if maybe the instrumental was used in Frontierland because it seems like a thing that would be,
right?
But I couldn't find anything directly saying it is. However, I wouldn't discount it as a possibility. If not, they should put it in the loop because it's really good.
Yeah, it's got that.
It's like
classic,
a nice melody,
like 70s, like Western,
like Disney.
Yeah. I think I just started humming the Goofy theme song to anybody that was really paying attention there.
But now we have to do a thing here. We have to build a ride. If the Apple Dumpling Gang was very successful and Disney had to make an attraction for it, what would it be? Where would it be? What kind of attraction would it be? Would we replace a ride? Would we bring a whole park? The Apple Dumpling,
the Apple Dumpling Park. Yeah, it took 20 years for Star Wars to get a land, but we're gonna give Apple Dumpling a park 50 years later. No, it's tough because again, I feel like any ride that you did that was totally based off the movie would be very boring because like I was kind of giving some gripes about earlier, it's a lot of scenes of Bill Bixby sitting at a poker table and a lot of scene of Tim Conway and Don Knotts shtick going wrong.
There is one that I've thought of that isn't what I would want to happen, but I feel like they would make happen if this was like $1 billion franchise.
Right. Okay.
I believe they would just change Big Thunder.
Oh yeah, definitely. That would be the easiest out, I think, of just kind of rebranding, Big Thunder and putting more. You could that was where my mind went to, because you kind of even go through that little town.
You go through the town. You could change up some of the names. You could in the pools of water have like Don Knotts and Tim Conway in there.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Like, you could have them
bumbling around.
It'd be kind of cool to have like a few different animatronics of them throughout the ride, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, which would be kind of cool, like sort of like
outside, inside.
Yeah, very like Splash Mountain-esque, where that's the story as you're seeing them try to do that. Their original concept for Tower of Terror a long time ago was that it was going to be like another backlot tour kind of thing of a Mel Brooks, of a new Mel Brooks movie, and it was going to be slapsticky and gimmicky. This could be totally a rumor, to be honest. I remember seeing it like a long time ago. But yeah, it was going to be that you were on the set of like a new Mel Brooks horror film, and it was going to be like a lot of like horror comic jokes. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like you could do something like that, but you're like on set of a Don Knotts Tim Conway film. Tying them, because like I said, I think they're really the best part. And if you were doing like, hey, they're filming the Apple Dumpling Gang 3, because then you could kind of be wide open to do whatever sort of plot you want to make for this Apple Dumpling sequel. You could sort of be, like I said, it could be a ride that goes wrong kind of thing, right? Like a la E.T. at Universal, not to cross parks here, but like,
it's like it's the sequel,
yeah,
quote unquote.
Or like those rides where you're in line to do this thing, and then when you queue up, the video's like, oh, something went wrong, now we need you to go do this instead, where like, you're in line to see a show at the museum emporium, but of course it's a roller coaster, so something has to happen, and they're like, oh, we got to get you to the Aerosmith, I guess. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like kind
Yeah.
of similar to that, where so now you're all of a sudden doing this other thing. So it could be that like the queue line is that you're supposed to be in set for like a Don Knotts, Tim Conway Apple Dumpling sequel. Comedy ensues, and now you get on this like rickety roller coaster or something like that. Would be kind of cool.
And, like, you're off the tracks and you're going down a mine shaft and where would you put that one? Would that be in studios?
Oh,
Is
okay.
that where you'd put it?
No, I guess not. Just because I just brought that up because I remember that's what the Mel Brooks thing was originally going to be at. But I mean, I guess you'd kind of have to do it in Frontierland, wouldn't you?
Mm-hmm.
Or California
Yeah.
Adventure. I mean, that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
Like, if you put it out in the West Coast, just keep giving them everything. That's awesome. But it would kind of fit the theme. I know it's not California,
At least
but
if it was in California, it would get built.
yeah.
Look at this here. It's like the Apple Dumpling Gang ride. It'll be built in the next 10 years? Well, we'll see.
And it'll probably just be a store.
Yeah.
Once it finally does get built.
Budget cuts. Sorry. What can you do?
It'd be we were originally going to have a lot more Apple Dumpling kids, but the budget cuts got back to just 3.
JPEG need a new house. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. Need a new parking lot, new hotel for more people to come to the rides we don't have. That's a story for another day.
So, would you consider this film a hidden treasure, or should it be locked away?
And again, I don't want to keep just tooting the same horn here, but I think it, again, for a good old fashioned family fun, like it's really nice. Like it's just something I'm like surprised I didn't see as a kid, to be honest. I think I would have enjoyed as a kid. It's
Yeah.
got some good old wholesome humor. Like I said, it's not much of a story. It's not something that I'm gonna sit down and like throw on today, probably. But I genuinely laughed several times at Don Knotts and Tim Conway. And if you're not
I'm
familiar with their work,
I really want to see like the second one.
hey,
Like, I'm kind of like thinking about not even for this, just like popping it on, because I'm like, I doubt it's gonna be like a great piece of cinema,
no.
but I enjoyed them enough where I'm like, I kind of want to see what they do next.
I think they did like 7 movies together after this, to be
Yeah.
honest, the two of them. And yeah, so like I think it's yeah, if you're a fan of slapstick kind of, comedy and physical comedy, and it's why it was always so cool too, as I think it's a little bit of a, oh, they're actually doing that. And they're actually, I mean, like again, to bring up the guy I forgot earlier, Buster Keaton. I mean, the whole thing of him doing the God, it's a famous clip of him on the train. Have you ever seen it? Like where he's
Yeah.
knocking the post out as he's going on this moving train, which is like
Yeah.
wild.
Insane.
Yeah,
Insane.
bananas. Like, and it's the same thing with some of this physical comedy. Some of the things they do, it's both funny and like, oh my
Yeah.
god, like I can't believe they're actually doing that. So,
I think at the very least you should look up those clips.
true. Yeah, you could probably do
Like
that.
just look them up. If you're a fan of 70s, 60s live action Disney movies, this is just as good as any of them. I would say this is on the better end of the spectrum, actually. Like, way better than A Cat from Outer Space. Way better than
Yeah.
like Computer Wore Tennis Shoes.
Well,
Like, this is definitely on the like good end.
and I think it was because they went back into something they kind of had done before. I would say like with stuff like Cat with the Tennis Shoes and the Cat from Outer Space, not the Cat with Tennis
Cat
Shoes.
Wore Tennis Shoes.
The
Yeah.
Cat wore tennis shoes, that old classic. But I think you could argue maybe were trying to do something a little bit different and out of their wheelhouse at that time. Whereas this was almost more of a, I don't want to say a step back, but a step into something they were
More classic.
Yeah,
Disney.
they had this formula down and they knew how to do it. I think we talked about this last time too when we were watching Newsies. I think you could almost guess the decade a certain movie was made based off of like things like intros and other like things that seem odd. Like in Newsies, you could definitely tell when that movie was made because like of the bunk bed thing. You know what I mean? Like all the kids are like in bunk beds. It had that like summer camp feel, even though it was not a summer camp. Same thing with this movie. I think it had like I was like, oh yeah, this is definitely a 70s thing because you had he was like dressed in all black, you know what I mean, and came in on a dusty horse, and you know what I mean, like it was very much of a product of its time, on the better end of those movies for sure. And like I said, I think if nothing else, just look up those clips with Don Knotts and Tim Conway.
If you're a huge cinema fan, I wouldn't recommend it. I would recommend it if you're like an old Disney movie fan. This is not gonna bore you like some of the other ones do.
If John Wayne's in like your top 3 actor list, if you're
Yeah.
if you watched the Incredible Hulk series and said enough of this Hulk guy, I want more of that. I want more of that David Banner character. He seems really interesting. I want to know his story. This
Then
is
check this out.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Chris, I also have never congratulated you in person for your engagement. So I just have one question. Is this only to pawn off some kids that you got in the mail?
Listen, if you could pick up a package for me,
Okay.
that would be great. I may or may not be back to claim it, depending on if they find any treasures.
right.
But thank you, buddy. I appreciate it. It's very stressful, but I'm very happy. It's weddings, folks. It's tough out there for planning a wedding, especially when you have no money. When you eat ramen and like the same chicken nuggets for like 3 or 4 days straight just to try to save a buck, and then someone gives you like a 4-figure price point on flowers, it's just really hard not to cry a little inside. You know what I mean? I'm like, flowers are free. Like, I can go pick flowers. Like, I can get us flowers. It's not that big a deal.
Yeah, you have to save up for that big brass bed.
Yeah, man. Your invitation will be in the mail soon. I also need to get your guys' address. Then I guess that's another thing. We kind of we're not forgetting about it, but we're like, oh yeah, we need to like tell people when and
that
where
you're getting married.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, good luck with that. I hope that you find a giant mine filled with gold.
If anyone's got kids you don't want, as long as they come with a vast fortune, I'm happy to take them in.
All right. Well, I'm gonna go see if I can find an abandoned mine.
Hey, best of luck, man. As long as you got some
thank
canaries, you should be fine.
Yeah, I have like 7.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's at least 7 mines you got right there. Yeah. That's worst case scenario. So
they're all the tiki room birds. It's the rest of them.
You're just throwing animatronics down a well, and you're like, I don't know why they're not coming back. It's so weird.
They're not coming back. I can still hear them singing though.
All right, man. Well, thanks for having me back, bud.
Goodbye.